All right, how about a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion on the agenda? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. How about our minutes from our January 8th meeting?
A motion to approve the minutes from the January 8th meeting. Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Are there any public comments? We're aware of? All right. Do you have any information from supervisors not seated as committee members?
You let me give my opinion on this in the meeting, or do you want it now?
I think we'll all participate a little bit.
You don't want your opinion at all. Down
All
there,
right.
just past adjourned. Yeah.
That'll bring us to a discussion regarding amendments to the rules of order. Will be leading us in that.
Well,
Tag team it, I guess.
the clerk and corporation council has been working on the amendments to this. They're redlined in your packet, so I'll turn it over to who wants to start first.
So we worked through it. Clark and I have addressed issues that we are aware of, that we think needed addressed. I'm sure there are other things that other people could run better as well. These are really things that ultimately we believed have been problems, either aren't really reflecting what we do as a board, or things that need to change kind of administratively on the clerk's end. Those are kind of the changes that are proposed here. I forget really all the things that we went through. I had a list and the clerk had a list, and we just kind of hammered them out one by one. And so those are the red lines that you see.
So do you want to take us through what you felt should be changed?
Sure.
Excuse me, if there's something here that you would like to comment on that is not redlined, at what time should we do that?
We could just go section by section if you want.
Yeah, as we get.
And that way, if anybody has anything that we hadn't considered, we can input it. That works.
All right, start us out on.
All right, so in general, section 2 under authority granted 5910 for the purpose of improving the ability of the county government to organize its administrative structure, the county elects and declares to become self-organized. That happened back in 2013. I assume it's all right, that particular provision.
Where are you at?
Just that.
It's at the very
first
beginning.
Section.
Article 1 in general establishes that we're a self-organized government. It's not really a rule of order so much as just the beginning part of our ordinance.
All right, that was B.
That was section
Section 223.
2-1,
sorry.
The first.
very
very
beginning,
first
just starting at the
article.
very beginning.
I don't see anything red.
There's nothing redlined, so I'm just going through the sections in case people want to address.
Case of the change.
Yeah, nothing from us to change in that. Section 221 just establishes the 2-year terms and the election. I don't imagine there's any change. Vacancies. They aren't recommending any changes in 222. 23 is where we see our first recommended changes. The first recommended change is a request from the clerk. I think there's some confusion about exactly what duties the chair and vice chair have as part of their role and what potentially is outside of their role and would be compensated in addition to the extra compensation that the chair gets. Because I think the chair gets paid an extra, how much?
It's 9,000.
extra 9,000 for being the chair. And then the chair also, as part of that responsibility, attends a lot of meetings. Some of those meetings are listed in our rules of order as things that they sit as an alternate member of every committee. So should they get paid an extra $100 for each committee that they go to, or is that part of the compensation of the $9,000? It's not, it's just deciding whether to add language to clarify whether that is extra pay or whether that is supposed to be incorporated in the $9,000. I don't think we proposed anything. It's just redlined specifically so that you look at it and decide what you want to recommend to the next board and whether you want to add clarifying language and what the intent of the language that is in our current rules of order are.
How do they handle it now? For extra meetings?
I don't know.
Well, do they get paid now for extra meetings?
Yes.
All right, do we think in the future they should get paid? Here or nay?
It's just, that's where it was between me and finance trying to figure out what should or should not. And I don't feel like that's staff's decision to make. That's the board's decision as to what they want the compensation to
What
be.
does the committee think?
Does anybody feel or see or think that it's being abused in any manner?
Well, would they get just the regular committee, but if they have to go somewhere, the travel stuff, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be, I would assume would pay
It
more,
would still get reimbursed for travel costs.
but maybe not for the meeting or whatever, or how.
Right. And I think the bigger question is related
Let me
to,
give you an example. There's a automatic, the chairman is automatically goes to Northwoods College. You're one of the members of that. There's a meeting this afternoon on some additions to their management. And we have to act on that. So I go to Shell Lake this afternoon. I usually charge for a meeting because it's mandated that I go to that one. But it's not on any
List.
list that you would have.
Yeah, I think anything that is mandated to attend by virtue of the position definitely should be reimbursed.
I usually mark it down as a meeting. The travel and stuff is paid for by them.
But what do we feel the $9,000 is for then? Is that to come up here and sign and
Stress.
stress?
Answer your phone at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Have people calling you at home all the time, stopping you in the
Probably the
grocery
share
store.
more than anyone else would get. They could get
Board
called
members too,
from
calling
the
and
district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
leaning on him. You know, I mean, that's all.
As long as we're okay with them getting paid for other meetings, unless this is one of your.
This is one of my opportunities, yep. I think the chair should get paid to come to a meeting if, one of our committee meetings, if we're short a member and they vote. I don't think they should get paid to just show up and not be the quorum
No, don't.
Ex officio,
of
yeah.
the board.
If they're just showing up to
If
it.
they're just showing up to a meeting, to show up to a meeting, I don't think they should get the $100 that you guys are getting today. You know,
Yeah,
I think that's unfair. If environmental services isn't gonna have a quorum and they call the chair and say, can you come so we have a quorum and vote? Then absolutely, because they're part of the committee at that point. Otherwise, I think they're just,
so do we need to address that or put that in some kind of words? So it's clear?
if we have the intent, like what you want to make as a recommendation to the next board, we can work together, as long as we understand what your intent is, we can work together to get that language in front of the executive committee for April, so that when you make your recommendation to the full board, you have that language in front of you, and then you can verify So if we get a general idea of what you mean, we can come up with some language and get that ready for you for next meeting.
So is that what we're looking for? If they participate in the meeting, they get paid, but if they're just going there to observe, then they don't?
I'm looking at the duties of the chairperson just to see if we contradict any of them. Yeah, I think we're good there though, aren't we? He serves on the general government committee, so that is it's regular. So he would get paid that one. But it's like you said, it would just be the other one. So it doesn't conflict with
Yeah,
the
probably
duty.
the executive committee.
Yeah, any normal standing committees, of course, they would get reimbursed per the usual. It's if they're attending other standing committees that they are not a member of. Unless, of course, they're standing in as quorum, then they would get the reimbursement. But if they're not
Is that
standing,
the current practice?
I feel it's been ambiguous. I feel like
So you
we
think
have
We
and
should
have
have
not.
something that says it, what the intent is.
Right.
I don't know,
Or
maybe,
like to come up to sign stuff, as you said, is that,
Well,
It
I
sounds
think
like-
that's the 9,000.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
does that include mileage or no?
How's it handled now?
Right now, mileage
Don't
is
wanna get too
included.
Far away from how it's currently being handled,
Mileage is included, but we have not.
but it's not a meeting.
Correct.
So they don't get the $100, just mileage to,
So is that fine? Like none of that stuff is outlined anywhere. So that's, I mean, it's all up for discussion on how you want it handled.
would it be possible for someone, maybe with Jay's assistance or whatever, to maybe kind of compile, a list of kind of, what, what extra there is and the situations we're talking about now? I know that that would be difficult to get that all inclusive, but that way we can look at kind of maybe everything instead of taking this piece by piece and then coming back later and saying, well, we didn't talk about that one or something.
well, who does Jay answer to, or who, I shouldn't say Jay, but the chair. Who does the chair answer to if there is if he puts in for compensation?
I just put it on, go to the clerk.
And it has to be signed by another supervisor.
Supervisor signs it.
Any other supervisor can sign it.
So they would have to challenge it and say they didn't feel you should get paid for that meeting?
That's,
Well, I suppose somebody would. It's damn near impossible to tell by what the compensation is because sometimes you get, I have no idea why. Not that I care much about the compensation. And as it's deposited, I really don't pay a lot of attention to that, but it is very confusing to me. I have no idea what that deposit is for. I was under the impression that if I attend a meeting, I automatically can participate at any meeting. And I usually would, most of the time, I would put the agenda in and charge for that one meeting or mark it down. I have no idea whether I got paid or not.
Okay.
So I can't
Yeah,
answer.
Even like today, I mean, you're not gonna get paid for this meeting.
No.
No matter whether you participate or not, I mean, you just came up here to observe, or you could have done it on the. So I don't know, I don't agree with that if you go to a meeting just to sit in to see what's happening, I don't agree with pay for that or mileage for that.
I don't.
But
I
if
don't-
you go there, you go there and to make the quorum or just to be the fifth person in the committee meeting, absolutely you should be paid.
Or be a member of that committee, like it only, in his duties, it's the only member is the general government.
executive, general
And
government.
executive, I
And
guess.
then any meetings that are mandated that the chair attends, what the
Right.
colleges or wherever you go.
But those are less, aren't they? Are they only at 40 yet, or did we put them on?
Those are still 100.
Those are 102, okay, I guess.
I bet you can't find in the rules of order that you're a member of Northwoods College. In here anywhere.
That's back to that sheet where everybody gets.
Yeah, and does it
that
need
first
to
sheet
be
that
in
We
the,
all go, or
Yeah.
like revolving loan funds, lake deals, that's, where you do that first day. There's 30, 40 appointments.
Or I was wondering, is it the technical colleges that want the county board chairs? Or is that us saying, we're letting them know that that's our designee?
it probably wouldn't have to be the chair. Couldn't you appoint anyone you
You
wanted
can appoint.
to go? They just need a representative from the county
Somebody,
probably.
okay.
Designate.
But them would definitely be paid, but I don't, I mean, just, sitting in on coming to a meeting just to sit in to see what's happening,
Right.
not being one of the 5 on the committee. So
Right.
maybe we can, Joe, can you develop some kind of language that kind of addresses it a little better than it currently is?
I think so. I think we can come up with language that does what you're talking about.
And that would apply to all supervisors also.
I think
I
that's,
think we should add that because I've went to different meetings like Brad does too, to sit, and you don't get paid for that. You're just interested or
And that
have
has
some
been,
information for them.
that's been an understanding. I don't know exactly what our
I think
language
it is.
currently is, but if it doesn't reflect that, we can
Okay.
address
So-
that too.
I believe there are meetings that supervisor do attend that they just put in for mileage and don't get reimbursement currently. So we want to make sure when we add that to the rules of order that we're consistent from not only the chair, but the other committee, other supervisors, that it's clear that if you choose to go to this meeting, if you don't get a stipend for it, there's either mileage included or mileage not, if it's part of your duties as a supervisor.
Should get mileage.
Well, do we feel it's the chair's duty to, we can't expect them to attend every meeting.
No.
And if we do expect them to, then probably should be compensated, but if they're just going voluntarily,
A lot of them are on Zooms, once we Zoom them. I mean, that would,
we've already kind of established that we don't. pay
you don't get paid for it, but you could watch the meeting if you didn't want to actually physically drive and be there.
Yeah,
I mean, for that part, because there's a lot of the other revolving loans, some of that's all Zoom. So how do you?
No,
well,
those are
that's the
outside.
only way you can attend.
Yeah.
Those are outside and those are still
Outside.
compensated.
Yeah,
Other ones,
Would
yeah.
it make sense to have something like upon request of the committee chair? If the chair of the committee asked the county board chair to attend, that they would be eligible at the committee chair's discretion?
I can't
why would
imagine.
they be needed?
Well, like Brad was saying, in case they need a quorum.
Then they
Then
definitely
it would,
would.
yeah, then it would, yeah, that
That
part.
wasn't the
I
question.
think that's in there.
I
Okay,
think the question was if they just choose to
No,
stop into meetings and
Yeah.
listen, that they wouldn't be compensated.
probably wouldn't be that many anyway, but that's highly understandable. And I think that's.
So you're saying not the $100 for that, but would they still get
Right.
mileage? So for example, Brad coming today, if he wanted, would he be able to put in mileage for coming?
No,
And then that stands for the chair as well.
I would say, and unless they're needed, I mean, that,
Unless
wouldn't
we're-
that be part of the 9,000 that they would, if
That's-
something's going on, environmental services, that they would just attend that meeting and
yeah,
be up to speed what's happening and not be compensated again.
yeah.
Otherwise, Jay, what do you feel that the 9,000's for?
Well, I don't know. I had.
Or the second vice chair or the first or second vice
First or
chair?
second, yeah. The extra money and
Well, I don't know what,
But you could probably definitely delegate some meetings. I mean, just,
oh, sure, well, you do.
all
And
right, well, let's just try to get it clear of what,
I would assume if you just eliminate any compensation other than your mandated meetings, eliminate the per diem there would be logical.
We did that for the Lake Association ones.
Well,
That was
Lake
no per diem.
Association, you're not a member of,
No, we did that.
Whether you attend or not.
whether you attend or not.
I just kind of compare it to like a town meeting. If we go attend a town meeting, you know, I don't think we should be compensated for that. I mean, it's just kind of one of our duties to,
Yeah, it's a choice.
yeah, but
Whether you-
choice and
whether you're
not
going-
required.
Get
but-
information or whatever, yeah.
Well, if they have some information for you, they should relate it. It's their
Well,
responsibility.
sometimes they'll call and ask you to attend the meeting.
I never had that.
I've had it a couple of times, but.
Of course, I am the chairman of that sound.
Well, that's probably through there anyway.
It's already there.
Okay, so what about those outside optional ones, for example, like that, everybody was invited to like that Ice Age Trail
Oh.
one like last fall or whatever? Would
Is
that be?
everybody compensated?
I don't think anybody was, but for example, there are lots of opportunities like that. Would that be, no, I don't think anybody has ever gotten a per diem for that, but there have been times in the past where mileage was requested for those outside things. The ribbon cutting at the interstate,
Yeah.
for example, things like that that are optional to go to. Are those reimbursable? I mean, that's for supervisors and
I
stuff.
would never put in for something like that. That's more of a
I don't think.
social,
Yeah, I mean, it's not required. It's not required, and
no.
if it was required that we attend, then probably get compensated, but
Man, I could go to a meeting every day with the DNR stuff and all the crap. I mean, I could be at one every day. And I could go to Stevens Point, Wausau, Madison.
Yeah.
Holy man.
so do you think they should be compensated
No,
then? And you could-
No, I think if you're invited, you're invited.
Yeah.
It's up to you if you want to go. I mean, how many do you want to go is up to you.
Like the ones that Bonaprise goes to, I mean, someone has to be at the meeting.
Those are different, I
He's
think.
an actual delegate on those.
Yeah.
The WC.
So there's that
So
different.
He gets compensated.
Yes. Yeah.
Someone has to go.
Because we have the trail, who's Northwest Trail now?
Committee members,
That's Doug Rowdy, isn't it?
Doug is, I don't think he goes up to Spooner to that one. I think one of the.
but like
snowmobile
public
guys do.
protection goes to the safety meetings every,
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are always compensated mileage and all
that's
that.
designated and.
That's part of your duties of the committee, isn't it? So if it's a duty of the committee,
Well, it,
All right, you got enough on that to go with? We almost made it through
It's a
our
high-
first change.
all right.
when you.
And we'll kind of
Yeah.
probably have to work that in both between the compensation and the duties of the chairperson. So we'll probably have to rework a little bit of both of those sections. So,
All right.
Well, it'd be the same for the first vice chair and the second too, that they don't get compensated either, just attending meetings. Or that no one.
Gets that just for attending. Okay.
All right, what's next, Counselor?
I'd like to take a look at, discuss item D.
All right,
Okay, so the reimbursement exceptions, I'm gonna throw out myself as an example. So some of us have quite a few outside committee assignments. Tomorrow is the meeting of the Department of Workforce Development County Consortium, and it's in Eau Claire. So it takes me an hour and a half to drive to Eau Claire. The meeting is 2 hours and an hour and a half to drive home. So it actually costs the county more money for me to attend in person than it would for me to attend virtually. I think that if a supervisor is attending virtually with their camera on the entire time, and they are there for the entire meeting, from the call to order to the adjournment, I personally don't have a problem with them getting compensated for that. You know, but if your camera's off or you get up and do your laundry or, whatever, that's different. But if your camera's on and you're there for the entire meeting, just my opinion, I would not have a problem with being compensated for that. For what it's worth.
how would you, what control would you have? That we knew that you sat there all day.
The other committee members would be.
There's other
at the
committee
meeting.
members there, and there's also minutes that reflect attendance. And
Okay.
oftentimes in the minutes, and in my opinion, should be in the minutes. If somebody gets there late, you note what time they arrive. And if somebody leaves early, you note what time they get up and leave.
So are you talking, Fran, for number, or D, are you talking for the standing committees or just the outside committees? Because this is for standing committees only.
Okay,
So you can,
Outside committees.
Outside
isn't it
committees have
only if that's the only way to attend.
yeah, currently it is, if the only, and I do have some where the only way I have to attend,
There's
like
no
the.
issue with that. If that's the only way to
community
attend,
Development block
get
grant.
compensated.
yeah, for anything outside of standing committees, you can get compensated for any one of those meetings that you attend virtually, because there are quite a few that are virtual. only.
Virtual only. but-
This is strictly for standing meetings,
Okay.
like our 5 standing meetings.
Okay. That's fine. I'll put in for the mileage and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I always did with Wisconsin County Highways, Board of Directors. Put in, for a meeting.
Yeah.
Cause they're an hour and a half to, like you say, 2 hours sometimes. And, I've always been compensated for that, so.
And those are virtual only too, aren't they then?
Yeah, they're virtual.
Virtual only,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, any of those can be turned in for
Then
reimbursement.
it makes sense.
Obviously not.
Is it
tailored to
because
your
it's
county.
the only way to attend?
Yeah, it has to be the only way to attend the meeting. It
Thank
was my understanding. I've attended meetings virtually by my own choice. And I have not put in for compensation because I could have went in person, but it didn't work out for me. Say my husband was having a bad day or something, so I attended and I never put in and asked for a per diem for that because it was my understanding we don't get it unless we, unless it is the only option. So I don't know if we want to think about this or whatever. I just wanted to bring it up. I do think it's important, though, that the person is there for the entire meeting and the camera is on.
Is that in another place to
There-
address? Is it farther down the?
It's even in our rules of order. Like, that was just a policy the board
Oh.
made.
I remember that definitely being part of the discussion of if it's
Okay.
the only way to attend.
We have discussed thoroughly.
I think the board voted on it and it was voted on that only if you were excused by the chair for an illness or an injury, you could attend the meeting virtually and be paid.
That was one way.
That's what's on there right now. That's what
Yeah.
was put in that last time.
Well, and later on down the line, we, the closed sessions are addressed. Virtual attendance of closed session is addressed in another part of the rules.
What's that?
Well, that's,
That is going,
You're allowed to attend closed sessions virtually.
pardon me?
You're allowed to be included in closed sessions
I
virtually.
don't believe you are.
Section
yeah, you are.
Section 256 allows you to attend virtually if you have approval of the chair.
Yeah.
And I don't think we included this as one of our things, but we should also likely believe we have.
Currently, they can attend closed sessions virtually.
Correct. There has been some discussion, some comments made by supervisors that should they be allowed to attend closed session if they're virtual, not knowing who else is in the room when they're virtual.
Exactly.
Yep.
So,
And then we've
Or who they're
actually made them
texting.
identify themselves.
Yeah.
So it isn't just someone putting a picture up there and then
Are their initials?
do we not want them to be included?
Well, I don't know, Joe, you're the expert on the open meeting laws. If we don't know, the point I'm trying to make is we don't know who else is in the room. We don't know if they're sitting there on their phone texting other supervisors or members of the public or people who have an interest in what's being discussed. We don't know if they, have it on speakerphone. It's just, my concern is open meeting law violations. So for what it's worth, I was going to throw that out there when we got to that section.
So what if they were the only way there was a quorum? And they attended the whole meeting virtually to make the quorum, and then there was a closed session, and now we lock them out of the closed session, then the meeting ends?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think that, people need to attend the entire meeting under any circumstance.
Or we just completely go away from virtual and go back to in-person meetings, and if they can't make it, there's no quorum, the meeting doesn't happen.
Well, that's another option.
So a couple of things. One thing I do think we need to address, and I don't think I even noted it in possible things here. The way the statute is written, any board supervisor is allowed to attend any particular meeting. The only way that we can remove a supervisor that, for example, is attending a meeting, and let's say we had a closed session on this agenda, the only way we would be allowed to, sorry, Brad, you're the only one that's not on the committee here today. The only way we would be able to remove Brad is if we had a rule of order that specifically said that we could remove Brad. Otherwise, Supervisor Olson would be allowed to participate because the statute says that he's allowed to participate in any particular meeting, regardless of whether it's a closed session or not. If we have a rule of order that says that only committee members that are on the committee and at the discretion of the chair, an outside committee member would be allowed to attend, then we would have the opportunity to remove potentially supervisors that, let's say, Corporation Counsel said, hey, I think it's a bad idea for anyone other than people on this committee to hear this information. We would be able to exclude them. If we don't have that rule, if we have nothing in place, which is what we have right now, any supervisor can attend any closed session. We do have the restriction right now that says if you're attending virtually, it's at the discretion of the chair to allow you to continue to attend. And that's all well and good. I agree with Fran that there are absolutely concerns about if we allow people to be on without video. I have concerns about whether we can confirm whether the person is in fact who they say they are, whether they're on speakerphone or whatever. That isn't, to me, an open meetings violation concern, but it's absolutely a confidentiality concern. Anything that, let's say I'm giving legal advice on litigation and someone has their speakerphone on and their spouse is in the room or around and hears that information, regardless of whether or not that spouse hearing it, whether they care about the information or whether they go and try to share it. Technically, if someone else is aware of the information that was disclosed from an attorney to a client, that's no longer protected information. And so at that time, all of that information is now available for dispersal to anyone. Anyone can ask for that information because it's not technically confidential anymore. So I share Fran's concerns about virtual attendance in closed sessions. I think that there are ways for us to structure rules that we can best protect ourselves. But
swear an oath or something that they're by themselves, just like a judge.
But
I mean, something to protect us for ethics or whatever, open meetings. Couldn't you say, okay?
I don't know if there is anything, an option
to
in
do
that
it like
regard
that?
or not. I don't.
well, if you look at the template that I sent
Because
out,
I don't know how many we're gonna have that way.
it addresses virtual meetings and has some basic rules.
That's not in the rules of order, though. That's
Yeah,
the
that'd be nice to be able
policy.
to be in the closed
That was the
session.
template sent
Oh,
out.
the template that was sent out. Okay, okay.
And trying to hide it from half the people.
It addresses having if you're gonna appear for any meeting, having your camera on at all times, and a number of different things. I can't pull it up right now.
Also, a concern I have, and I don't know what the appropriate time is to address it, would be someone joining the meeting virtually, voting and leaving the meeting. Because we wouldn't let people walk in and sit down and vote and get up and leave. That would be frowned upon, and if people are doing that remotely, I don't think that that's correct in my eyes for what that is worth. I also don't think that, oh, we need a vote, let's call so-and-so and have them come on the phone and vote. And then that's all they do and leave the meeting.
When is that?
I've been told about it. I have never personally witnessed that, but I have been told that that has happened.
Yeah. After we've went virtual after the COVID, I haven't hardly any phone.
I mean, I just-
Sort of see if they're coming.
I mean,
Close they are.
Yeah.
You know, my concern is I think that we all make a commitment, right, when we run for office. And I think that part of that commitment is we should, if we're going to vote and participate virtually, that we be there from the beginning, from call to order to adjournment. And we have our cameras on.
Well, there's gotta be a certain amount of trust in,
Well, I know,
in
but
what you do, because I had gone to closed session, walked out the door, and 5 minutes later, you hear someone talking about the stuff that was at the closed session.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I have too.
So what
That's fair
difference would it
ethics.
make? What kind of rules how restrictive they are, is basically immaterial if you're not gonna comply with them in the first place. I mean, it's,
Well, you're trying to tell people that that's, and then to say who did it. If you notice, I did one meeting where I took every staff, everybody out.
Yeah.
And just had the committee members there
yeah,
because they said the staff was letting this all out. Okay, well, that one, nobody heard about it then.
yeah, well, that
So
could
then,
be
you
that,
know, you
but that
start,
has
but that's
happened.
ethics.
I've,
You know, we had a few people on there that would sit in their car out there and haul it out right away.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, just another situation. to throw
But
out.
that's the ethics and committee and stuff. I mean, how do you,
but the whole thing is ethics.
yeah,
I mean, this, if you're sitting at home with your phone off and you've asked them, if you got your phone off, it's a secure area, you
Yeah.
participate, yep, everything's fine, you gotta take their word for it.
yeah.
I don't know if they're doing their laundry, I can guarantee you I'm not, because I don't do
Well,
laundry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do my laundry Sundays. But,
Probably isn't any worse than this thing sitting right here.
Yeah.
well,
Pretty ironic that you can talk about something and all of a sudden you're getting pop-ups.
I have
on
a-
the very subject.
I have some notes
Yeah.
for when we get to that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
So, all right, not to, so
yeah.
we can kind of move this along here. Are we just gonna stay with what we have on virtual meetings or are we gonna expand on it?
If you want to expand on it, I can come up with just say we want to expand on it. I can come up with language, basically pull it out of that template. The language that's in that template rules of order is pretty good. It talks about allowing virtual meetings at the discretion of the chair and you have to have your camera on. I can add all of that in and then you at the next meeting, look at that language and decide, yeah, we want that. No, we don't want that. Pull this out, et
And
cetera.
that it has to be the only way you can attend the meeting. That that's the only option to attend the meeting is virtual.
And this will eventually come to the whole board anyway.
Well, it actually won't, it'll come to the next board
Right.
and they'll decide if that's what they want to do.
But whoever is here, it'll be the whole board that'll be looking at it.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
All right, move us along.
That next highlighted one is just to put it in our rules of order that matches all the other employee stuff of that 60 days. That's all it does is
If they want to be reimbursed, you gotta do it within 60 days. So
Yes.
it's not the end of the year. Okay.
just turning in that reimbursement sheet within 60 days of the meeting that you attend.
Right now, there's no time limit.
Well, it says like
Reasonable.
per our policy, the county reimbursement policy, that's what's in there. So just putting it in here as well to make it clear to everybody, because supervisors don't always go look at those policies and stuff. So pulling that out of there and putting it in here so it's clear for supervisors.
All right. Anything else on this page?
Yes. So I have item number G. No, that's a tough one. It's tough maybe for payroll or for the clerk's office to get us, a listing of what we're getting paid for. Is there a portal? I don't know if there's a portal or something we can access that through. It's not a real big deal. I mean, I trust that sooner or later you get paid for what you turn in, but I never know what I'm getting paid for.
No, that is definitely my fault. I went on maternity leave and when I came back, that has completely slipped through the cracks, sending out that reimbursement. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely get back on track on sending those out so everybody knows what they're getting paid for. Because we have had people that have caught that said, oh, hey, I didn't see this meeting on there and we just hadn't turned it in for a standing committee.
So is there something we need to change on that?
No, I don't think there's anything that needs to be changed. I just want to bring it up.
How about removing the chairperson and the vice chairperson? Language,
I think that was from when? Who did we try to get rid of back in the day? And that's some of the language that came up.
It was most recently amended in 2022.
Yeah, Jeff Feudy looked it all up and gave an outline on that once. Never happened, but somebody wanted to.
all right, what's our next item? Duties of the county board chairperson,
Depending on how that reimbursement stuff shakes out, there might be changes to this. If it might be easier to put in reimbursement like does or does not get for duties as assigned, there might be changes with some of those discussion pieces we've already had to that. But as of right now, there's no changes that we have.
right? About section 254, anything there?
Nothing from us.
Next page, 255.
So that entire section is the ethics section. We have no proposed changes to the ethics section. I might go through that and compare it to the template and just make sure that we're pretty well stored up as compared to what the recommended language is, but as of right now, there's no recommendations. One thing that we may want to do, we don't have an enforcement section in our rules of order for what the board can do if there are violations of X, Y, or Z. I know that I've received questions from a number of supervisors about, well, what can we do about that? And my answer unfortunately has been, you can bring it to the attention of the chair.
When are you gonna enact that? When would you enact, especially in ethics?
So there is a provision that we could add into our rules of order that have a number of different enforcement capabilities, which could include removal from a particular meeting, removal from a committee, removal from the entire board as provided under statute, issuance of citations by the board. There's a number of different things that are enforcement actions that the board and or particular committees can take. We don't have any of that laid out in our rules of order currently, which means we have all these rules, but there aren't, not a
Isn't
whole.
there some money values, $500 I'm seeing here, not more than 1,000 for each violation?
That's if it's prosecuted by the district attorney.
Right.
So we
So
we can get rid of the chairman, the vice chairman, the first by a 2/3 vote, but we can't do a regular supervisor.
you
Okay.
you can pull them out of that position, but you can't remove them
From the board?
pursuant to our rules of order. There's a statutory provision that allows for a process by which a person can be removed from a board. But it's not laid out in our, and we don't have anything that allows for a removal of a person from a committee. So it would fall basically to Robert's rules. And if Robert's rules is silent on it, then there's nothing. Template has an enforcement action section in it. Ultimately, I think there should be, in my opinion, there should be some authority on the part of the chair and the full board to enact penalties against potential supervisors that are acting in a bad way. we've been very fortunate in my tenure here to not really have this situation even come up where I think any enforcement action would be necessary, but there's no way to guarantee that that's going to continue to be the case.
I think our camera will fix that.
And I think that is absolutely kind of what my advice has been, you know, bring it to the attention of the chair, put it on an agenda to talk about what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, what actions you're seeing, and ultimately that should be remedied by the way people vote in the next cycle. But again, there could come a time when it is desired that there are some more action.
So you bringing us something in April or not?
So I can add in the enforcement section from the template. I can review it, make sure that it kind of fits with what we want. And you can kind of piecemeal, pull stuff out, put stuff in as you would like.
And when to implement the enforcement.
Well, it has that
aspect of it,
list
and
here
by-
from the ethics.
By
base.
whose standards? You know, part of this
right
whole
here.
thing is ethics and decorum. And whose standards are you going to, how are they affected and when are they gonna be ruled on?
It's in the eye of the beholder kind of.
So
Whose standard is,
ultimately, the template enforcement action section has the ability of the board to
determined?
refer it to someone to do an investigation, present a report to the board. And then ultimately, if you're looking at removal from a committee or something like that, you can put in place rules that say it has to be a majority of the board agrees to remove someone from a committee based upon their actions. A number of different things, right? There's lots of things that you can do for enforcement actions. Nothing says that you have to just give the power to the chair. The chair can just remove anyone at their discretion. That would be a bad way to do it. It should be something where
You're out of
the
here.
actions are viewed as a whole, as something that's so problematic that it leads to that type of action.
And that, we got it, that verified complaint was a thing too, because we got a lot of anonymous ones. And a lot of that was over the Blue Rock stuff where people were talking behind the scenes and doing stuff.
And
That's when we
ultimately,
ran into this. So if you read on page 6 of 17, it has to be a verified complaint, findings of facts. It has some of this stuff. And that's where the 500 and some of the dollar amounts. But it doesn't say that you can take them really away or anything. So
No.
based on the findings and conclusions, dismiss the complaint. Supervisor to conform, county board to confirm conduct, code of ethics. So maybe that would have to be added there that it'd have to be pretty egregious. I would think they have to pull somebody off,
right.
you know,
so-
off the whole board. I mean, that would be, you know, we'd really have to look into that if you could even do it. You know, unless they're sitting in jail or something, I mean, then we'd have to fill the position. But it was almost like if you have the death of somebody, we had such a hard time trying to fill a spot too.
if you come up with some good verbiage and orders on what's good on decorum and ethics that we could actually enforce
And the template,
stuff positively, not subjectively.
yes.
I got a job for you, the US government.
Yeah. But the chair has to, if there's a fight
They
in here.
fight
you gotta
about it
decide,
daily.
You gotta get them out of here right away.
Same thing
If
that
they're
we're
fighting
trying
over
to
something.
mandate. Well, good luck.
And remember, these are rules that the next board is going to have to vote on and adopt. And they're rules for you to all acknowledge that you have to follow these rules. And so if everyone on the board or a majority of the board agrees that these should be the rules that we're following, and if someone is violating those rules, you are, as the board, the new board, going to be acknowledging that these are the rules. And here's what we all agree the penalties are. So,
Yes.
and they may not agree with whatever recommendation you put forward. Maybe they pull the enforcement section back out. Maybe they say, no, we don't want that.
Does the template have anything? I don't recall if the template has anything different. The,
From what we have?
yeah, from the.
Yeah, right. So it gives a number of different options for enforcement actions. It has, again, removal from committee, an issuance of a citation from the board itself. And it has, ultimately, the biggest penalty is removal from the board entirely. You are no longer on the board. There is a statutory process that would need to be followed to do that. It's not, again, nothing to be taken lightly, and it would likely need to be a result of something pretty egregious.
Convicted of a felony or a crime.
So
Would threats to employees be covered under that then?
we have a provision in the ethics section that talks about
Some of the supervisors.
employee protections.
Administration.
Again, the template has a little bit stronger language for appropriate interactions with employees and appropriate interactions with
That's what I'm thinking.
other board members as well. So you can all take a look at that, and ultimately, if you wanted that to be a recommendation to the new board as well, you could throw it in there. The template language, again, is pretty good in terms of what is pretty basic ethical interactions with employees of the county, employees of the administrator, and interactions with other board members. It's, again, the template has good language. Our language is fine, but all depends on how specific you want to be about what types of interactions are appropriate.
Something we should read about every 3 months to remind them all.
Yeah, I think the hardest language you can get there would be wise in light of the recent events.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, I think there's employees here who definitely feel threatened.
yeah. So if there's better language in the template, I think we should look at it.
All right, we good on that? Ethics. Move on to section 256 meeting.
So we, under subsection B, changed the language here, or added language, I think. Basically just clarifying that you're not going to get paid, because the only time we really have committees of the whole are generally at full board meetings, and we have them in the middle of the board meeting. The language was ambiguous in that it could be read that you get paid not only the $200 for the board meeting, but then also get paid $100 for the committee of the whole. So you get paid $300 for just going to a basic meeting. We wanted to remove any ambiguity there. You're not getting paid twice. You're going to get paid for the one meeting regardless of whether there's a committee of the whole on the agenda or not. So that's what that language addresses there.
Do we have an out, say that we're having a meeting? And we want extra discussion. Is there a way to say, okay, that we can vote by a 2/3 vote and have a committee of the whole, even though it wasn't agended?
To go into a committee of the whole?
Yes. Is there a way to do that or not? I mean, there's some things we're gonna discuss, and if it gets too formal, it's hard.
Well,
Is there a way to go into a committee of the whole without having it being agended, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Suspend the rules for more discussion.
you could, without going into a committee of the whole, you could have a vote on a suspension of the rules to allow for more free discussion.
Okay.
I think I've seen that.
Go that
done.
way instead.
Well, we've kind of opened
we've done
up
that.
the free discussion pretty much
Yeah.
so far.
But I
However,
mean, somebody else could just
however, if
say,
you follow the order, it tells you exactly who to call on, when to call on them, when not to call on them because they've already opened their mouth.
Yeah.
or so on. That's pretty well description. Do you want to open it up for more
Yeah.
conversation where two people can talk to each other without the chairman saying, Jordan? But we've kind of allowed that, I've always.
It has been allowed. I think the concern.
It's been allowed, I mean, but
The
you
concern
could
is
get.
someone
pretty
could
strict.
just
It's
call
gotta
a
be
rule.
You
law.
could,
Right,
you can.
at which point
The chairman
conversation.
can be Very
Yeah.
strict on that.
So it could turn to where you don't get, if you get to speak twice and then a bunch of other information comes in, you don't get to talk again. I mean, if
You always get to talk again, you just don't get to speak until everyone.
no,
Yeah,
everyone
so-
spoke, okay, yeah,
Speaks, so that
Well, that's the way
a
it's
couple of
written.
supervisors can't just dominate the whole meeting.
yeah.
But, you know, okay, well, that could get very, you're right.
But instead, just suspend the rules that you could have more dialogue, then would be easier than trying to have something written in there like that.
But convincing 2/3 of the board that you should talk more, Kim.
Uh-huh.
No, yeah.
Or couldn't you just leave a committee of the whole as a standing
Yeah,
agenda item? So if it was needed, it would be there.
potentially.
You usually have to have what the content is, don't you?
Right, because you're calling yourself into a committee, the committee has to have agenda items as well.
A reason to do it.
You couldn't just leave it as an open, that anything could be put on there.
Yeah.
There would have to be an agended item
Yeah,
on the agenda that
Yeah.
you'd be discussing.
So,
I mean, if there are things on this, on like a county board agenda that are coming up that have come out of your guys' committees or something, you can always ask the chair to put a committee of the whole on any agenda. I mean, if you have,
On any item.
on any item on the agenda, I mean, we can always add that to any county board agenda. I mean,
It's just if you don't add it and then someone wants your dialogue.
thought of ahead of time.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should have thought of it ahead of time. That could be
Well,
a
things come up
response.
at the end too, so you don't know, but still,
But there is a way to get there, you're saying,
yeah.
during the meeting.
Without actually going into a committee of the whole, again, you could suspend the rules and open up
It
discussion.
used to be every meeting, so we haven't done that for a while.
That did happen quite frequently for a while.
It happened quite a bit for a while there.
All right,
We've been fortunate in that there hasn't been, we have not had difficult supervisors that have wanted to strictly adhere to the rules. And you don't have to necessarily make a motion to suspend the rules. You can basically do that by consensus, so long as someone doesn't make a point of order, right? You are essentially, we suspend the rules almost every meeting because we don't adhere to them very closely. We've been fortunate to not have obstructionist supervisors, but we have to plan for if and when that does occur. And that's where, again, the clarity in the rules comes.
all right, what's our next item?
One that is not up there, I believe, is on J. I think I added this later, is to, so this one right here, this public comment section of J is public comment just for county board meetings. Whereas on page 13, there's a public comment for standing committees. And right now, the only thing that's missing from the county board one is the persons making public comment must be on site of the meeting to make comment. As that has been our practice at county board, it is not codified in the county board section.
and COVID's over, so.
But it is in the committee section. Basically, people virtually can't make public comment. It's just not codified in that.
And we haven't, where the written comments aren't read yet at the meeting.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and I don't have any language for you today, but since we're talking about it, it may, we have language in there that says written comments may also be submitted to the clerk for distribution to the board. But materials presented by persons speaking during public comment will not be accepted. But then it later says written comments can be submitted to the clerk. So we often have people come in and try to hand something out. We have to say, no, we can't. You can't do that. Our rules of order say you can't hand anything out. And then they get confused. And then we have to say, well, you give it to the clerk and ask her to include it in the minutes because of this language. I think shoring up the language that says, hey, you can hand stuff to the clerk though. Like that. And I don't have language, but
Clean it up.
cleaning up that language. And so if you all think about a way, what you want to do there, maybe you want people to be able to hand stuff out the way we have it right now. It says only staff can hand things out. I don't know. But that's happened at least a handful of times in the
Yeah.
last year where people have come in with something and they want to hand it out to all the supervisors.
Should we have something that they have to hand it out before the meeting starts so it doesn't disrupt it? If you have something to hand out, they would have to do it ahead of time.
Should never do that while you're speaking anyway. And
But a lot of
anything
them will
else.
speak and then want to hand out what they just said.
Or have someone else hand
Yeah,
it off.
pass it around, but do it before they even speak, then not.
If they're sitting up there talking, got a bunch of stuff and they hand it all out and then they start talking and you're reading
reading
what
it
they're
with them,
handing
yeah.
out, not listening to what they're saying.
Might be easier just to hand it to the clerk though, that you don't get a slew of people lobbying you with material during stuff.
The other,
That was the discussion around that, is that they get the 3 minutes. That's their public comment, that anything in addition would be adding to those minutes when they're here. It was kind of part of the discussion. You get your 3 minutes. You don't get 3 minutes and then 5 when everybody's extra, when everybody's sitting there reading what's in front of them.
so it could just be a matter of clarifying any public documents should be handed to the clerk prior to your public comment or something like that, and they will be added to the minutes.
It will be distributed to supervisors. We don't add comments.
Distributed to the supervisor, sure.
And
Not the-
distributed it to the slowest reader.
Well, then they also ask, is that in the record? Public comments aren't in the record, are they?
They can open records request public comments, but no, we do not put those in, because if, like, our argument before with that was when we had the sour and we had 350 comments, if we're putting that into all of our minutes packets and stuff, like, that's too much. And so unless you want to put in, if it's less than 5 written comments, then it's in there, like, it's just too hard to find that line of when we have those contentious subjects. And then it's the same email when they take one thing and forward it on, and then we get 350 of the same
Templates.
thing. And then the actual important information that like supervisors need from those minutes, you have to sort through 350 pages of comments at the same time. So that's been our argument for not including any of those written things into the minutes packet. The minutes packet should be the board's documents, not the public's documents.
So you have to do, that's public comment and a public hearing are way too different. The
Yes.
public hearing is kept as exhibits.
Yes.
This isn't. I think that's what the public doesn't get because they call me, can I put this on the record? That is a public comment. You gotta do it at the public hearing.
The
So
difference,
it's two different things.
Public doesn't get to decide what's in the minutes. You know, I have seen often,
Oh, yeah.
and I want that in the minutes. Well, they don't get to decide that.
right, because the difference would be if you have 19 people speak in public comment and one person that gives a handout that gets put in the minutes, it's only reflected in that 1 minute. So the public comments are all taken out of it.
Yeah.
And then we're just gonna have everybody bringing pages and pages to put into the minutes. You're gonna get a snowball effect there.
Sure. So for distribution to the committee or
The super.
board, the supervisors after, it will be distributed after the meeting.
So
So
yeah, go that way. Then. Yeah,
We can-
that'd be after the meeting.
note to add that little change. Okay. Is there anything else anyone wanted to address?
I'd like to talk about K. Cell phone use. So this is in our rules of order, and it's been in our rules of order, and everybody has a cell phone. I have one, I have it sitting here face down, just in case my husband's fall alert goes off and I have to ask to be excused and leave. But I have, witnessed on many occasions supervisors texting throughout the meetings. And I've come very close several times to saying, point of order, so-and-so is texting on their phone.
You can ask for a break in the meeting until they get done texting, maybe to.
Well, we don't,
put them on the spot.
again, yeah, I mean, I don't want to publicly shame anyone. That's not my intent. But we don't know who they're texting, what they're texting about. If they're texting about county business or not. We don't know if they're not paying any attention to the meeting and texting their friends. I mean, we don't know, but it does have a potential for, in my opinion, for some types of open meetings violations, potentially, whether they're doing it at a committee or they're doing it at the full board. So this is not being adhered to. And I don't want to publicly shame anyone, but I think I'm going to start doing it just because I think that they have been talked to about it and they have been told that, but I think they do it anyway.
Yeah, and our rules say refrain from unnecessary conversations and cell phone usage. So who's making the call on what's necessary?
They can hold up their phone and show us.
Oh,
That's how I feel about it.
let's put that in there, that you can
Yeah.
ask them to pull up their phone and show
I mean,
us
if,
Why not just say they have to have them shut off?
if it's an emergency, that's one thing,
Yeah.
but
It's a full emergency, I think.
you have an emergency every board meeting and every committee meeting, then maybe, you should consider whether or not you need to be here.
I must not be watching close enough because I haven't really
Well, it's very
noticed
obvious.
a lot of cell
Yeah.
phone usage.
It's like the school one, bell to bell.
There
Yeah,
All
There
the
is a
school
potential
stuff, bell to bell, you can't.
of supervisors communicating with each other during the meeting on a conversation that's not public now and as recorded too. I mean, there is that possibility.
I mean, I know employees text during meetings and I give everybody the benefit of a doubt. Sometimes you got to sit through a long meeting and you have a job to do and business to take care of. And you have maybe subordinates that, need to ask you a quick question or something. I get that. I understand that. But yeah, that's really being abused.
Or what we need to do maybe is, if you're finding that it's being abused that much, that we would agenda something on the county board where we review our rules of order, and specifically the ones being abused. And bring it again to everyone's attention that, cell phone usage is for emergencies only. I mean, otherwise, you may be asked, what's
Share
the-
with everybody.
What's the urgency on your cell phone call that you're not participating in our meeting? I don't know,
It's good, I don't know how to do that.
I think you gotta call them out on it.
Well, then I'll start doing
There's
this.
so many.
Yeah, call them out on it and maybe ask for a recess until.
I guess I'll be the bad
Brad gets
guy.
done with This phone call. And I
You
don't,
shut yours off and do it. I can't. I don't
I mean,
know
you
how to do it.
shouldn't have to do
I don't
that.
know how to shut.
It's weird. Just shutting ours off, because I don't know
I
how
mean,
to.
I put mine on vibrate because if we
vibrate,
get a,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because
we
you,
get a structure fire, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
But I don't want my pager to go off in the middle of a county
Yeah.
Yeah.
board meeting. So if it's vibrating, I look at it.
So let's do that.
I
Let's,
get it.
I mean,
let's call them out or ask the next board to,
yeah.
if
'cause
someone's
you're-
abusing
it's a
cell
bad-
phone
yeah.
usage, call them out on it. Make a point of order and say, let's wait till Jay gets done with his call here and then we'll resume.
He's got to be on.
Exactly what I was waiting for, but you gotta,
yeah, I mean,
can't call me on texting, I don't do
But
it.
I think that's staff too then.
Yeah, you could,
If it's us.
Yeah.
It's staff as well.
but if staff is sitting in the chair in the background, I don't know that we could call them out. I mean, they're not, or if the public is here on their text here.
Yes, the public to shut theirs off.
No, but if you're sitting around this circle.
Well, staff is in, yeah, if
They
it's
should
the
be.
corp counsel doing it or the administrator, I would say definitely could call a point of order and say, can we take a break till corp counsel gets done with his cell phone usage? And
I mean, I just think.
So you know what he'll do?
If it's good for us, it's good for staff as
He'll do
well.
Wi-Fi calls because he's got his computer open, so you can't see.
we won't know it. How about we handle it that way? Just call them out on it, and I would think after a couple times, that would curb the behavior.
I think after one of the last public hearings, there was
That
enough,
would slow Jay down any, but that's all right.
Yeah.
there was enough
It's
public.
not gonna, because I don't have the slightest idea how to shut my phone off. I don't know anything about him.
Johnny Bonaprise used to leave his in the truck because he could never figure out how to shut his off. Leave it out in his
I
car.
always.
Well, the
knew
kids
that
turned the volume all the way up for him and then he didn't know how to turn it back down. And so when it went off, he couldn't answer anybody.
I'm trying to figure out how to shut it off.
So should we handle the cell phone usage that way?
Got an airplane
Just
on it.
all about on it.
Okay.
And I think a couple times
But you get
would
it off, you won't be able to get it on.
would curb the behavior.
And so again, the template does have slightly different language than ours. It talks about emergency use as opposed to whatever we say. We say
Unnecessary.
unnecessary. It talks about an emergency or permission of the chair. So basically, if something's happening that you need to address on the phone, I mean, you can always ask for a recess,
Yeah.
and things like that. So if you want, we could incorporate the language from the template into ours. It's basically the same, but it's slightly different usage, and it gives a little bit more
Could we,
explanation for when can you theoretically use it.
should we mention in there too that, you know, that anyone abusing the privilege could be called out on a point of order? So that if someone does call a point of order, it is in the rules of order that.
Right. Yes. Also, as part of the enforcement provision, I mean, there's private reprimands, censures, there's, again, citation. So if it becomes a problem to where you're a repeat offender, theoretically, if a chair or another supervisor has a concern with what you're doing, as another supervisor, you're on your phone all the time and you're not paying attention, you could get referred through the enforcement provision for violating the board rules. So we could,
Yeah.
if the enforcement provision gets added in, use that mechanism as well.
We could do. Somebody pays $5 every time their cell phone makes noise during a meeting, and then once there gets to be enough money, we have donuts for county board.
Or everybody takes a drink, right? We can make a drinking game. That every time.
We used to have like a sunshine fund, like years ago.
Everybody in need.
I know, right? Who's got their phone on? So start calling before.
So, yes, we can add mechanisms by which it can be enforced.
All right, what's our next one? Closed session meetings? Is this, was added now that it's in red?
That virtual part, yeah.
Did we add that or is that an amendment? I
I
can't,
believe that's added.
okay. I would, not only that language, I think we potentially pull the template language that talks about the removal of supervisors at the discretion of the chair. If they're not sitting. Nothing then requires the chair to remove anyone outside of the committee, any supervisor that's not part of the committee, but it gives the authority. If we don't have that, we can't kick them out unless they're virtual.
Wouldn't even be there.
Because if we adopt this part, then the only thing we can do is kick them out if they're virtual.
I'm gonna say, I think that's a good idea, because I'll say at the last Environmental Services Committee, they went into closed session. I was here, I stayed. But there was an issue that involved my town that was coming up in the closed session. So I just walked out. I mean, Chairman O'Connell didn't ask me to. I don't even know if he knew our town was involved
Oh,
in
yeah, I
that
knew you
issue. But I just got up and walked out, because once we were in closed session, I felt as though whatever was said by the other Joe that day that was here, it wasn't appropriate for me to hear, seeing as though my town was signed on.
represented to
You know,
an attorney, yeah.
So I think in those cases, certainly as supervisors, we need to, if we don't voluntarily exit the room, be able to be informed by the chair, you know, you're involved in this. If it's from a personal side or a town side,
Yeah.
To be
You know.
asked to leave.
to be asked to leave. I think
Yeah, I
that's,
don't have
I
a
think
problem.
that's fair to everybody.
You know, I mean, some of us hold dual roles. You know, we represent, we're on boards and we're here. And I would, you know, if there was something about the city of Amory in litigation, I would leave.
Well, it'd be a conflict of interest and it was just,
You know, I do recall just offhand, a situation where a county board member was involved with the Fair Association. And I recall Malia saying, we can't force you to leave, we can't ask you to leave, but if you don't voluntarily leave, we're not going to go into closed session.
I actually think it was me, but
I think it was Joe.
It was Joe? Okay, sorry, Joe.
yeah, and that supervisor left.
Yeah, and they left. So,
And it's a question that's come up before, especially of new supervisors. And when they're in a meeting and a committee goes into closed session and they're not on that committee, they'll look at you and go like, can we stay? Can we go? Do we have to go? So having it in the rules of order makes much more sense.
And it avoids, it does often or can often then put me or whoever's representing corporation counsel in a pretty uncomfortable position, because essentially you're telling your supervisor, the board is my boss, telling them, no, you can't be here, leave, right? Where if the rule, or not only that, but saying, well, if you stay, I'm just not gonna, I can't force you to leave, and that no one can force you to leave, but if you stay, I'm not gonna give an update, right? That's puts corporation counsel in a difficult position, not only comfort-wise, but also I can't share information with the people that need the information in that situation. And so it gives the chair that discretion to be able to make that decision and force. Again, we haven't run into a situation where anyone's needed to be forced out. We've been fortunate. I have seen across the state, as I'm watching other counties interact with supervisors that, again, are obstructionist and difficult and don't acknowledge their own conflicts of interest. As I'm seeing it across the state, it is becoming more apparent that we, again, are very lucky with supervisors we have, and that we need to plan for the possibility that something might come up.
so it's my understanding of the law that for the most part, not in everything, it's for the person to decide whether or not they have a conflict of interest. And, you want to be able to trust that they'll do the right thing. But then again, on the other hand, my first term on county board, I had people jumping on me all the time. You have a conflict of interest. You have a conflict of interest. And I'm like, no, I don't. This has nothing to do with the village of Osceola. Just trying to shut people down by saying that. And I just said, that's for me to decide, not you. And this doesn't concern my employer, and I'm staying.
And remember, it doesn't really affect the decision-making of a supervisor to remove themselves. All it does, and it doesn't give any authority to remove a supervisor that's on that committee. So if a person is on the committee, they have a right to be in the closed session whether we like it or not. It's only the removal of supervisors that are not on that committee at the discretion of the chair. So,
And virtually.
and virtually.
Yeah, virtually, okay.
All right, what's our next one?
Yeah, that would fall under ethics and stuff.
Ordinances and resolutions, procedure for legislation introduced by supervisors. So
We changed, a big part of this is we changed, just where it started in generally. On our copy, it's C and D, but in the previous and codified copy, it's 2 and 3. Those needed to be moved over to be provisions of the ordinance and resolution section, not under procedure for legislation introduced by supervisors. So we had to shift those over to fall under the regular section.
What does it mean if it's in yellow? That means something different?
I think that's just one that we had to look at, so I just left it as highlighted. And something I want to touch on that one that's highlighted, nothing of that changes any procedure. It's just further codifying what we already do, that the corp council reviews the resolutions, administrator reviews the resolutions, and the general government director, finance director reviews the resolutions, and then it has the legal and fiscal impact. So those we just added the prior to placement on the agenda. That's been the practice for ever and ever, so that the committee has that to review before they take it up for discussion. I think the only thing added in E there to just go back up, to go back in order was, the section that says in E, that provision is in there, but we added for resolutions drafted by supervisors. Because there was the whole discussion of whether committees can amend resolutions. And that was a question. And so we're clarifying that if somebody drafts a resolution that a supervisor is doing on their own, that they want brought forward, that their resolution may not be amended by the committee because they maybe have drafted it a certain way. However, the county board as a whole may make amendments at that point. So things can't be amended ahead of time. However, the resolutions brought like by staff, basically any of the ones that we just had in this recent committee cycle can be amended by the committees on the floor. Because those are not brought by a certain
Prior
supervisor
to
for.
going to county board.
What's that?
Prior to going to county.
Prior to going to county board, yep.
But
So-
we're saying you can't amend that before, you can't clean up the resolution before it goes to county board.
It's written by a
You can
specific
make
supervisor.
recommendations to the county board, but you can't change the resolution.
Right.
Committee.
And that,
Not from a supervisor, but I mean, if we're making one in committee,
No, that can be changed.
that can be changed to
Or staff. Staff brings a
one, we can change that, the committee level. to-
resolution to committee, the
Yeah,
committee can
all right.
change it.
So that's stayed the same.
Individual's
All
resolution
right.
can only be changed on the county board floor.
I have a question on the word, just the word draft for clarification, that is resolution drafted by supervisor. I'm wondering if that should say put forth by supervisor, because I don't think we should have to draft our own resolutions. I mean, I can do that because I've done it, but I have been told in the past that if I wanted a resolution, I had to do it myself. And not recently, but I have been told that in the past. I don't think that, some supervisors have to do it themselves and other ones, they get staff assistance,
I think that's more than fair.
that's, yeah. Well, you know how to do that, just do it yourself. Well,
We don't do anything well.
anyway, so I just, instead of maybe the word draft, would the words be put forth, or this isn't happening anymore, so we don't need to address it?
What do you got,
Or
Brad?
you drafted all the
I
resolutions.
think it's got.
So somewhere there, I would like to see, so mix up in our our Health and Human Services meeting the other day. So I went to speak to the clerk after our meeting of bringing something forward and realized that what was on the top of our page for general government was in the event of a tie vote, only standing county board supervisor votes will be counted, which ended up on the top of our page, but I found out it was from the Environmental Services Committee, where if it's a 3-3 vote, the FSA or the agriculture person. So I went to bring that up at Health and Human Services the other day, because I think we have a situation there somewhat like Health and Human, or like Environmental Services, but with 4 citizen members on our committee, we could actually have a vote of board members on our committee that was 4-1, one way or the other, for or opposed to something. And if the 4 citizen members voted the opposite way, it would fail in committee. And so when it comes to the county board, it would say, well, it failed 5-4. But the standing members of the committee would have voted 4-1 or 3-2 or however
Yeah,
in the opposite. So I think we need to have a mechanism where on the resolution itself, in the back where it's signed and everything, that at least anything coming out of those 2 committees says standing members voted,
how the vote went.
however that
how the
vote went,
committee
because I think
Voted.
at least, there again, not so much,
Theoretically.
because it's only a tie that it's going to affect in environmental
It's like
services.
only a tie in ours.
But in Health and Human Services, it can have a huge swing. It can go from passing or failing by 1, and yet the standing county board members could have supported it on as much as, 80%, 4-1, which is really skewing what is coming to the full board.
So
I believe.
Just,
The full board doesn't have to take whatever recommendation comes out of that committee. No, I mean, the full board can go against whatever that vote is.
so that, and we
They-
saw that
Yeah.
earlier this year as well. But not only that, my only concern, and I would have to do research, is because Health and Human Services acts as, for example, the Board of Health, and acts as
Stuff there.
a lot of other statutory functions for the county. I would have to look into whether or not we could restrict the ability of those functions within Health and Human Services to do those things.
I don't think he's asking for it to be restricted, only to be noted on the resolution.
Yeah.
It would add a notation.
That it's. that
All
it's
the county
noted
board members
how the-
voted
for the
versus,
5 standing members voted,
Okay,
versus the entire,
not saying
to
they
change
didn't
it.
vote.
so not like the same way that Environmental Services has
where they can exclude the person
Right.
totally from.
Right, I'm
But
saying
add a
let the county
notation to a
board know
resolution or something.
on that specific resolution.
Yeah.
How the 5 county board members voted on it. Because again, I think it has
Yeah.
because I think the perception to the county board is it failed. But from standing committee members, it may have passed 4-1.
That's a good
I
idea.
mean, it's informational. I don't have a problem with that.
We do it on all, put it right on every resolution, how the vote was,
Yeah, we could do
out
that.
of each committee. Just, we used to have the vote 4-2, 3-2, unanimous.
ES and HHS are the only two that have citizen members.
Yeah, but even if general government was 3-2, we usually ask how did, even though they recommended, we go, what was the vote?
Well.
Yeah.
But.
And it was
that's
4-1
different.
or whatever. I mean, it could just be on every one, so it's there.
That's
One less.
They're all county board standing members.
Yeah,
So-
but a lot of times we ask what the vote was.
Yeah, I can
No,
add.
I
that to the
understand
template.
that. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Could look at adding a notation on our form.
I've been adding with this new template anyways, which is a lot of what these changes are in this section are just solidifying that back resolution page that I don't know if you noticed has changed a little bit. So it used to be, it had a spot for all of the supervisor signatures. I removed that and put 3 lines for sponsors. So that way, if it's a resolution brought forth by a specific supervisor, that's their signature on it. I now have included a spot under where it shows what the committee's recommendation is, a signature by the chair. So this is saying that, yes, this is what came out of my committee. And for most recently, like the large assembly and the one that came out of Health and Human Services, I did notate like some amendments were made to this resolution. Didn't notate which ones, but that there were, you would be able to compare if you looked back at the agenda packet. So it'd be easy to incorporate something like that right under that section that I've already kind of been playing with anyways. And also previously what's codified in here now too is that the board chair used to have to, well, per statute, they still have to sign off on ordinances. And at some point, it looks like back in like 2019 or 2020, when our template changed, that was no longer on there as a signature by the chair. I have added that back on for the chair to sign off on all resolutions that are adopted by. So there have been some changes made to that resolution page to kind of codify that stuff. So sometime in the future, if somebody goes to redo this page, that things aren't getting lost and they're not like just getting brushed off to the side on things that maybe should be included.
Seeing a lot of resolutions come to county board too without a signature.
Yeah.
That's what I-
What about,
It had, and that's why I'm changing this, because it didn't seem fair, like for example, general government, if you disagreed with something that was a resolution, but you as the chair had to sign off as a sponsor, that didn't seem like a good place for your signature. So that's why now it is a signature by the chair is on there instead of being a sponsor. And there is still a sponsor spot for those resolutions that come through that are actually done by a supervisor that wants to, propose legislation.
I have a question. The resolutions, it's my understanding, and maybe this went away and I had a term off and I'm not aware of it. But there was to be an analysis of the financial impact.
Yeah, that's still on there. Fine, there's.
But I don't notice that it's filled in often, or did we quit doing it, or it's just, it doesn't have any financial impact?
Most
or-
say either no legal or no fiscal impact on them. And if there is, like the ones that just come out of general government, I believe had a notation from the general government.
Okay, thank you.
And you still print the name under it because we don't know the
Yes.
signatures.
All right, what else we have on that? Got on resolutions.
Page 9, they got a bunch on 9 too in the next page. Don't they? Again.
That's what.
Yeah.
The next one on section 259, motions, amendments and debate.
On H, there is chairperson, constitution. Questions.
That's pretty much.
Corporation council. So that's annotated because it says appeal. The way Robert's rules would indicate that appeal would happen is basically if a majority of the board appeals, then the majority of the board determines what the rule is. So, I don't really have much of a suggestion on how that should work. I don't know if you want the chair to consult with corporation counsel. The way it currently works, the chair asks the corporation counsel, what is the rule? Corporation counsel gives the advice. I believe this to be the rule. The chair doesn't have to take corporation counsel's advice. The chair could say, nope, that's not right. We're doing it this way. The board then can appeal. The way it's written, it seems like you're appealing more or less to yourself. You're just saying, no, you're not right. And here's the rule that we're going to use. You could have the appeal be to corporation counsel for interpretation of Robert's rules. You could have the appeal be, you're just overturning the decision of the chair, and I guess how you then determine what the rule is, I don't really know. Is it just whatever you want it to be, or it's just not clear what appealing means in this context? Robert's rules basically says if the chair gets appealed, then you're just overturning.
I thought it
choosing
was when the chair
opposite.
tried to make the decision. The chair tried to make the decision and then someone felt that wasn't right, so they appealed that to corp counsel to make, is the decision the chair made right or was it wrong?
Right, and
I
so,
thought that was the.
That's what I got too.
so that's not how Robert's rules has it, right? Robert's rules has someone appeals. So let's say you ask me, is this what the rule is? I say, no, that's not what the rule is. You say, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna make this decision. Supervisor Duncanson says, I'm gonna appeal that decision of the chair. That appeal gets voted on, and basically if everyone votes to overturn your decision, regardless of whether you agreed with me or not, then goes to the opposite decision.
To the decision you had made,
But
not
if
the chair.
let's say you ask me, hey, am I right about this rule? I say, yes, you're right about this rule. Fran appeals. Is she appealing just to overturn you and then it comes to me for further investigation into Robert's rules? Or is she appealing saying, no, whatever the two of you decided, we're gonna overturn that decision no matter what?
And then what happens if
You
it,
vote. There's a vote, isn't
so
it?
you're talking about this going on during the meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So then the vote. So then they vote and no one or. Bunch of supervisors have no idea of the rules of order. Robert's rules of order can overturn
Yes.
Robert's rules of order. And
In their
go on
opinion.
without it.
I have to bring my cheat sheet that I,
That's what our rules indicate, that's what I'm saying.
Rules for dummies.
Yeah,
I
unless,
thought
Yep.
they could only
Unless-
appeal. I thought if the chair was making the decision without consulting corp counsel, that could be appealed, that decision.
Yeah.
Then you would go to corp counsel and whatever decision you made is how it would go.
No, it still gets voted on, though. It can be. The appeal can be voted.
Language as it currently stands says appeal to a review of Robert's rules. So
Or just a review.
then I read Robert's rules and again, then I'm interpreting what I generally already should have interpreted. So if I then say, this is what Robert's rules says, is that just, again, it's my interpretation. So is that what stands or that there's nothing wrong with that. I like being the person that gets to say how things go, but I don't know that that's how necessarily the board wants.
Well, and-
Again,
Didn't you change that somewhere?
go
in here?
against
Or
your
does corp
own
council the
advice?
final decision on Robert's
It's
rules
the
of order?
last one, last page.
So it should be put in here then.
It said,
Or add it.
that's what it indicates on the last
Very
page.
last,
There,
final authority on
Yeah.
parliamentary rules and issues.
right there,
As interpreted by corp council shall be the final authority.
right.
okay.
So that should be put here if nothing else then, if it.
Doesn't really need to be there because it isn't. I still say that this is if the chair makes the decision on Robert's Rules of Order and someone appeals it, it goes to corp council and that's the final decision.
And that's the decision. Yeah,
Oh,
not a vote.
and that's language that we added as part of the, okay, yeah, so I fixed it.
Now, is
There
it
you
a
go.
question of order? Is it a question of order or a point of order?
You make a point of order
Okay, it says question here.
in questions related to parliamentary procedure.
Said questions of order should be in.
Point.
This should be point of order then.
Well, you make a point of order, but it's a question about the point of order. So I guess.
Question.
It's a point of order with a question about it. Okay.
Page are we
Or
on?
is it just reads hard?
Joe.
So I came up with the concern about how you wanted the appeals to work and then I resolved it later. All right, so there we
Yes.
go. All right.
Right.
As long as you're all, and that's the thing is, as long as you're all okay with corporation council being the final, I mean,
Well, someone has to be.
Well, it's not only
Someone
we
thinks
passed
they know
it.
Robert's Rules of Order better than you do.
Tell you.
The corp council.
It's the other one, a parliamentarian or whatever they call it.
Them
Parliamentarian,
to be
yeah.
appointed.
Under the application of authority, you're crazy if you don't take the corporate council,
Advice, legal advice.
period.
And
You're not-
usually, isn't it order of
Very
motions or when things get so confused on
amendments.
whether it could be amended or that's when it gets,
Yeah,
The amendment to the amendment.
yeah.
To the amendment.
Well, that does, yeah.
And then you need to call corp council to straighten it all out and get it
We did that.
tracking right.
and we fall on the clerk a little bit to see if she was keeping up.
That was pretty hard.
All right, so anything else on here?
No, that's the last thing that we have annotated for modifications. Apparently,
And I didn't.
Nope, we just talked about one that's not notated on here.
Last page.
On, under voting. It says all questions shall be put in the proper form. Those in favor say aye, and Joe's recommendation is those opposed say nay.
Oh, instead of same
Really
sign,
stand
say nay,
Right now it says opposed,
Same
same
sign.
sign.
Same sign.
Same sign.
same sign.
and Robert's rules changed that recommendation a number of versions ago, probably in the early 2000s. It's just not the preferred. It gets confusing, right? Because then you're asking for everyone to say aye if they agree, and then later you're asking for them to say aye if they disagree. Everyone's
And then-
saying aye, it can create confusion.
Aren't you saying
Same
I
side.
disagree or I
Yeah,
agree?
it's, I don't
Yeah.
know, that's,
So you
Not
call,
yay or nay?
so the more clear under Robert's Rules new recommendation is that you call for the ayes and then you call for nays.
Or
I think it's a
you call for
you say nay.
Same sign.
Yeah.
or you call for a roll call vote or.
Gonna be a hard habit to break.
But you can call.
But that, I mean, that happens all the
Have a
time when
question.
Don's late with that delay.
Whether it's, those in
Right.
favor say aye, those that disagree, same sign.
Because it's in the positive, not the
That
negative. That's
was
what
in
you always try,
Robert's
isn't it?
Rules at one time.
It was,
I think
yep.
it was always that way.
Changed it.
So,
So if we don't, could someone call a point of order and then you'd have to re-vote?
Not if we leave this in, then we're good.
Just call for a roll call vote. What the heck?
If we leave it the
Got
way
the
it is, we
clerk
don't have
something
to
to
change
do.
anything.
Or a
In-
written one?
Oh,
Secret
boy.
ballot.
Private.
All right, so we're gonna come back in April and we'll have one more shot at it.
Do you,
Okay.
so with that, yay or nay?
It doesn't matter to me.
Unless someone calls a point of order and challenges the chairs, however they call for the vote.
So the only other thing,
It's
like,
in our
Because
rules.
we
that
don't follow
over-
Robert's rules of order to the left.
No, because especially our rules take precedence and then
Over
Robert's rules.
So then if we can go and.
It really depends on how petty you are, I guess.
for example, with the eyes though, when we have people virtually and there's a lag and the chairs are going
Yeah.
through these things, the eyes tend to end up on the opposed instead of on the, for it.
Well, that's the no virtual then.
So, well, if we're gonna allow people attending virtually and there's that lag in there and their eye comes in when it's actually opposed, that has been an issue before. We know that they intended it to be a for vote, but it comes up after the chair's already said and those opposed.
Why is that? Because they're lagging in the meeting?
You know, just a connection
The connection
lag
delay,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Just-
Whereas if you had ayes and nays, it would be very clear as to if there was,
Yeas and nays.
if you, whatever.
Oh, now it's yays and nays?
Yeas and nays?
And we're not doing ayes
Aye.
anymore?
Those in favor say aye.
What is I? I
Okay,
thought it
so-
was yay. and-
Man, I'm-
AYE, aye.
All right, I see where it could be an issue, but
And we have had that.
And someone's gonna have to call it as a point of order and challenge.
It just doesn't happen enough.
No. All right, anything else till April?
Okay, because
So in April, we need to have this wrapped up.
We need,
So there's not gonna be another shot after the April meeting to get it to the next county board.
Yeah.
and they
then-
can change.
in
But Are
April,
you gonna send the
this will be
template out
under-
to everybody again?
I can do it again. I
Yeah.
can
I'd
resend it.
appreciate that. I think
I've had it, I
mine is
wonder.
buried somewhere.
And then
Yeah.
if someone does have something else, I mean, they need to get it to Joel and not in April, because we won't have another shot at it.
So we'll bring this back to the April executive and then April county board will be able to review it and make their decision.
Because environmental services, we haven't went through it yet because our meeting got so long.
When does the new board take effect on?
April 21st.
April 21st,
First,
Yes.
Any meetings before then,
our
still
regular.
be with the whole
To
board.
to do it.
Lame ducks included.
Okay. All right, anything else? I think we've identified our subject matters for our next meeting, April 9th.
I'll be attending that virtually. The weather's good and there's no cabs laying on the ground when I wake up.
Don't get paid.
Well, unless you're injured, unless you get injured out there and
You
then
get
you call in
injured
the
out there, give
chair,
me a call.
the chair allows you to attend.
Pretty much
virtually
hurt the
for-
whole time I'm out there, so yeah, I'm injured.
Did all the other committees get to go through this? Have they?
Yes.
And made no changes yet?
Only their committee rules. They went
Only their
through,
committee
Yeah,
rules.
that's the only
Okay.
thing.
not the full.
Not the general rule.
An updated county board to reflect the conversations that were here.
Oh, okay, sure.
I'll probably try to make some of these changes that we're good with into this because county board does go out today and include this document in there. So that's what I'm gonna hop right to
This is in there for what?
for county board next week. Just to review, so everybody has
For
a working
review,
copy.
okay.
So that way it's just county board members can look at it in April beforehand and make any further changes. Or if they want to make recommendations to you guys to the next executive.
Yeah. All right, anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Hey. Nobody,
That's not till the next term.
Yeah. We're looking for a horse.
So with that, I'm-
Can adjourn at what, 10:45 or whatever?
10:44 is what I had.